Canvas and Skyward 101, I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to go ahead and get started just because I want to be respectful of your time, and I definitely do not want to go over at 8:30 at night for you. I'm sure that as you're munching here and excited to be here, I just want to make sure I'm respectful of that. But there were still a couple people moving through the hallway, so I was trying to balance that out. My name is Emma Moss. I teach at Eastmont Middle School. I was also the Canyons District Teacher of the Year in 2020. This picture here on the left is probably the one that you've seen of me. It was on the district website for a while, and I just remember logging in and being like, oh, that's my face. I didn't know they were going to put it up on the ticker. But it was a really exciting time, and I love that they asked me to. I'm always so grateful that I get to come to these events and share a little bit what I know about as a teacher and some of the skill set that I have. So just a little bit about me. I'm married. My husband up here, his name is Steven. We are those weird people that go to the movies all of the time. I love movies, and so does he, and we show up in matching shirts, and it's really great. We have a mini home theater, and we go to premiere events. Sometimes on accident we end up at them, but it's a lot of fun for us just to go out there and see. This bottom picture here, this is some of the teachers in my hallway. I love, as a middle school teacher, I love that I get to go all out and have a lot of fun. This is on Halloween. These are the Mario Kart characters, if you aren't familiar with them. I'm over here in the yellow, and I couldn't figure out which character I looked like, so I was the coin box, and I gave out chocolate coins to kids all day. It was super fun. I really loved it and just had a blast. So teaching is my place that I fit in the world. In college, I sort of bounced around a little bit, and my first teaching course was 4 hours long. And I got out of there, and I called my mom, and I was like, I have found my place. I fit in the world. I know who I am finally. And she was like, what are you? And I was like, I'm a teacher. And I have never looked back. I just loved it ever since. It's, for me, I feel like a lot of people, it's hard sometimes to go to work for me. It's like, oh yeah, I get to go home every day, and then I get to go to my second home. And anyways, it's a lot of fun for me. This top picture here, like I said, always grateful. They asked me when they did Teacher of the Year, they were reading off about the person, like their biography, and I was like, wow, this person sounds really great. I wonder which one of us is this person. I didn't even realize it was me. And this picture is so funny because it was COVID, and so it was like me and the 3 other people. It's 2020. And this particular picture always makes me smile because I was so shocked. I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to touch my face. So I put my hands down in this particular picture. And it always just makes me smile it's just a memory for me. But always really honored to come and share, and just really grateful for Canyons and the things that they do for you as parents and for us as teachers. So hopefully this information will help you. I'm going to cover 2 sections. So one is the Skyward section, it's Skyward and Canvas. The other is the Canvas section. I have just 4 points in each, and timing it last time was about the right information. Start out really basic, and then go to some things. These later bullet points are things that I was like, I asked the teacher across the hall, like, what do you wish parents knew? So those are some of the things I pulled from them. I could tell my students, if you have questions at any point, I'm happy to answer them. If I don't know the answer, I will find out. And I'm happy to learn together. I just had a parent in the last section that I was like, I don't know that, but I can find it. And I was so happy to see that she sent me an email. So I am glad to help you if I don't know it, but hopefully I can help at least direct you to the right place, or I can learn something new, which is also the fun part of being a teacher. So just starting with Skyward, also this is my projector remote, so I promise I'm not like sitting here on my phone. It lets me click between slides. I'd like to clarify that with people. The first thing is I want to give some background information on these programs. The first, Skyward is a grading and school management system. So it is the grade book and like where you pay fees or where you register. They have 2 different purposes. Canvas is a learning management system. Think of it like a filing cabinet. It is where the teacher keeps all of their assignments. Having those 2 purposes in mind, I feel like really helps you see why things are kind of set up the way they are, and gonna kind of help you see, like, do I need to see if my child has an A on assignment, or do I need to actually see the assignment? So knowing that difference, I find is really helpful, just the background information of that. What I'm going to cover here is all down the side, so it helps you sort of see where we're at in the process. At the end, I also have a handout that has the two Canvas resource, Canyons resources, so the Skyward and Canvas Canyons resources, as well as a link that will give you a link to these and more. So hopefully at the end you walk away at least with like, I know learning text sometimes, the first time you kind of need to see it, and then you need to kind of play around with it and kind of figure out where you're at. I recognize that tonight in our half an hour or so that you probably won't have time to play with it, but I want to give you a reference so that you can go back to it later and kind of look at that. Also, they're recording me, not you, just me, but those will be available in about a week. So if you feel so inclined and you're like, what did she say again? You can scroll back on the YouTube bar and you can watch me again. So know that they're going to be available to you so that you can reference and ask anything there. So the first thing I start with is really basic, how to get logged into Skyward. Just so I kind of know who's here, how many of you have an elementary school student? How many of you, okay? Middle school? Ah, yay, that's where I live. Any high school? Okay, multiple students, this is good. When we get to the Canvas section, I will gear some of the comments towards that. So for Skyward, the easiest way to do is just to go to the Canyons District website, and underneath parents and students, you have two links that will take you to the Skyward and Canvas login, which is really helpful. Canyons has also done a great job of putting them on your school's homepage, so if you're really lost and you're like, I don't know, just Google it, and it will show up at the bottom. So like this is Willow Canyon's website, this is Eastmont Middle School's website, where I teach, this is Brighton High School, all there at the bottom for you. We want you to access these as here at Canyons, they really want you to be able to feel like you can connect with your student and kind of navigate those things. That's why you're here tonight. What it will do is it'll bring you towards a homepage that looks like this. This is the login and password. If you're not sure what this is, your school secretary can get it for you. If you're like, I don't even know what that login is. Your student also has a login to this. That stays the same with them, whether in elementary or middle or high school, it stays the same throughout. So if you have a student, like in my last session, I had a student that was moving from 5th grade to 6th grade, their login and password stays the same as they move. So don't panic about that. But if you're not sure from a parent perspective, give them a call, say this is who the parent, they'll ask you to verify some information about you, and then you can get that information to log in. If you've never set up a Skyward account, again, school secretary, they can make sure that you have those permissions. On your Skyward homepage, this is what you will see once you log in. This side will look different depending on which school you're at and what they've turned on, like which navigation they've turned on. All of these screenshots here that I'm using are from the Skyward or Canyons website, so these are all fake students. I promise I'm not sharing any data. But for this one, the ones you're going to use the most are this Home tab. This is where you'll see messages from teachers or from the school. If they send things out through Skyward, you might get an email about it. And for them, it also shows up here, so if you want to go back and reference. It also has upcoming events, so like things that we put on the calendar. I know I help with student government. Those show up on the side, those kind of theme weeks that you want to see. The other tab that you'll probably use the most, registration. So at the beginning of the school year, when they release that registration information, that happens in Skyward, as well as the grade book with grades. The next thing I want to show you is on that gradebook tab. So when I was asking teachers in my hallway, they were like, what do you want them to know? They're like, please tell them about the missing assignment. So you as a parent, when you log in, and your students as well, can see their missing assignments. And that will give you the total missing assignments for all of their classes. This particular student has a lot of them in the sample student. You might see one or two, hopefully, for your student. But anything you'll notice here, too, that is blinked in blue means that you can click on it. So you can actually click on these assignments, and you can see exactly what the assignment was, when it was due. If they synced it from Canvas, it will actually give you a link directly to the Canvas assignment, which is really nice. So missing assignments are a great way to just kind of see, did my student actually get a 0 on this assignment, or is it not turned in? So really good clarification there on missing assignments. Next thing I want to show you, and the last thing with Skyward, and then I'll pause for any questions or things that you might have, is how do I see like specifically how my student is doing in class? I find that my students don't know this exists, so I'm hoping that this is helpful for you as well. When you click on the grade, remember blue links, clickable, and this, let's say they went to their English class, they can click on this grade here, and it will pop up their assignment list. You can click on one of those assignments, and it will give you a lot of information about that specific assignment. The first thing it'll tell you is how much, the highest possible score, if it's at 100 points or 10 points. It will also show you the grade they got on it, as well as the overall class percentage of how other kids did in the class. So if your student, let's say here, this student got a 90%, the average was an 80.13, and the low was a 66, and the high was a 90. So your student actually got the highest score in the class on this example. I find that's really helpful to see, especially as you're trying to figure out what can I work on with my student if you're finding that they're turning lots of stuff in, but maybe they're on the low end, oh, they're really struggling in English, how can I help them, or how can I talk to this teacher? To figure out what I can do, you can kind of see where they stand in the class. The other thing that it will do is down here at the bottom, so it doesn't have it on this example, it will have a link that connects directly to the Canvas assignment. So you can actually copy that link, paste it in a new tab, and it will let you see that Canvas assignment, so you can look at that in more detail. Again, going back to our first analogy here, this is a grade book. Canvas is our filing cabinet, so it'll give you a link to where that is in the filing cabinet, which is nice. The other thing that you can see on this view is this little pie graph right here. It will show you how much things are weighted. So I know at my school we have a 60% assessment rate and a 40% assignment rate, so you can see oh, is this an assessment or is this an assignment? It'll show you those categories as well. So that's really helpful, I feel just to kind of see where we're at. Yes, please.
Do we see the grades of every assignment they turn in, or is it just big assignments?
That's a really good question. So that's actually here coming up. But so with Canvas and Skyward, Canvas is that filing cabinet again. As a teacher, sometimes there are assignments that my students do that are helping them build the skill to get to the next level, and I may not grade all of those practice assignments. Or where they're still learning that skill, I might assess them or use an assignment that shows that they can apply it. For example, right now my students are learning about spreadsheets. Today we did some very basic vocabulary of a spreadsheet, this is a title and this is a cell on a spreadsheet. Because most people have, for them as 8th graders, they've never even seen a spreadsheet before. So I may not grade something like that. It may be on Canvas, but I might not grade it to Skyward. I will grade the project that we're going to be working on the next 2 days, where they use M&M candies, and they categorize them. They put their data into a spreadsheet, and then they make a pie chart from it. So they're actually applying some of those vocabulary words. The nicest thing to do for that is knowing that on Skyward, anything here is officially posted to the gradebook. On Canvas, you see the entire filing cabinet. A parent asked in the last session if there's a way to see which ones have synced and which ones have not. And I don't think there is, but I'm looking it up. So if you want to send me an email and say that you have that same question, I will find out if there is a way for you to see that. So, because I think, and if there isn't, there should be, because that would be very helpful as a parent. So, but going back, this is the grade book, so check here. If it's not here, then it's probably not being synced. Does that help answer your question? Okay, perfect. Any other questions while I'm paused here? No? If you think of anyone, please interrupt me. I love answering questions. It's one of the things I love. See, there's my next slide. Questions about Skyward. Any other things you would like to know? Yes?
Change the password or
Like,
any of the information in Skyward to access. Because I have 20 different accesses.
like, can you change your password?
To go into Skyward.
Yes, you can. You can do a reset link from inside of the account settings as a parent. Students can not do that unless they have permissions for that, which I think they're only allowed to change at the high school level. If they want to change it otherwise, they have to go talk to the office. But yes?
Do all the teachers use Skyward and Canvas at full capacity, or are teachers able to kind of pick and choose to what degree they use it?
That's a really good clarifying question. So Skyward is the official grading platform that Canyon School District uses, so every teacher will be using Skyward. Canvas, they have recommended and a style guide for how much we should be using it. I know at my school, every teacher uses it because it's really easy to use, and it really helps, especially when students are absent, they're able to access things. As teachers, sometimes they think teachers are still learning, just like we all are. That's why you're here, right? And so they may use it for different postings, but the idea is for every teacher to use it and post that so that they have access. The great thing is too, as a parent, if you feel like that you have questions about what's there or you're not sure, send the teacher that you're working with an email, and always more than happy to direct you and help connect you to whatever information you need for that, as far as Canvas and Skyward go. I can't answer that for every teacher because I'm not every teacher, but I can tell you that the district provides amazing resources, and I love using Canvas, and so does my school. And so I feel like that, yes, every teacher is supposed to have a Canvas page to the extent that they use it to the full capacity. Can't speak for every teacher, but does that help answer your question? Okay. If they have specific questions about how much your student's teacher uses it, easy, quick email, just be like, hey, I'm just wondering how much you use Canvas on a weekly basis. So great way to phrase that for you as you're navigating things. Great. Other questions? Yes?
So,
Yes.
my student did have a lot of missing assignments.
Okay.
And he kept telling me for the longest time, I've done them, Dad, I've done them. And I mean, he was failing, and then the quarter's over and he got a B. He had turned him in. Like, is there any kind of standard for teachers on how quickly they should put things in? Because it was really difficult from my side. I mean, you want to believe it, but.
Right, I can see how that would be really frustrating. You're like, what's happening here? So I'm going to answer this in a couple of ways. First, as a teacher, actually that's on my next slide, so this is good. That means I'm anticipating questions. Skyward and Canvas do not sync automatically. So I have to go in as a teacher and sync them. I sync my Canvas to Skyward every week is how I end up doing that. Most teachers I find will do it they'll have a day that they do it, or they'll do it twice a week, depending on how often they have that synced. As far as your situation specifically with missing assignments, if that's the case, send the email to the teacher and say, these are the missing assignments that you have. Can you check on this for me? I try to grade twice a week, and then for each class, and then I sync once a week. Usually on Fridays is when I end up doing that. I find that scheduling really helps me. Depending on which level you're at too, just recognizing teachers are trying their best. I have 3 classes and 150 kids that I'm trying to make sure I'm giving structured feedback to, which sometimes takes time. But as a parent, not as a parent, but as a teacher, I really appreciate when a parent says, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to help my student. This is what I'm seeing. Is this the case? And then that usually is just a quick email back of, yeah, I'm still in process of grading those. This is when you can anticipate that. Or no, Johnny or whatever your student's name is actually missing those 15 assignments. And that helps you navigate that as a parent. So hopefully that helps answer.
Yeah, it's just in high school, the last thing they want you to do is email their parents or their teachers.
This would be a great moment to, I can tell you what my mother did. She would not email teachers, she would make me. So she would sit down and be like, you have a missing assignment? Great. And let's sit down and write this email. And as much as I hated it at the time, it has made me so much less scared to go into college and go talk to professors. My freshman year semester, I got strep throat and I was out for a week and a half, and so I had to go to every single professor and be like, hello. And I had to send emails while I had strep throat. I don't think I've ever been so sick. But that's a really great thing to do as well. If your student is feeling that, be like, that's okay, we'll figure it out. Yeah.
How often would you recommend that a parent checks Canvas or checks Skyward?
Noting that I update once a week is usually a good thing to see. Usually I grade probably like 3 out of the 5 things in a week. Some teachers will do 2, some teachers will do 1. But if you're checking it once a week, then you're helping them not get behind. The problem that I see often with students is that they'll be like 3.5 weeks in and they haven't turned in anything, and I'm trying to like help them, and then a parent gets involved, and usually it doesn't go that far. If a student hasn't turned stuff in for 2 weeks, I'm sending an email like, help. I want to help you support your student, but I would definitely check once a week. And if you can have a regular day, I know I have parents that always check grades on Tuesdays. I have 4 of them that do that because if their student is missing something, I get an email from them. They haven't actually told me that, but I've started to recognize that pattern. So I find too it especially helps middle school students. The one student I actually asked, I was like, does your mom check with you on Tuesdays? And they were like, yeah, how'd you know that? But it helps them feel consistent too, because then that student is always on Monday coming to me. I noticed over the weekend that I'm missing this after I synced on Friday, and it kind of helps them build that skill. So that's been my recommendation as a teacher. But do what works best for your student and your school where you're at. Any questions about Skyward? Sweet. Well, we're going to keep going. We got about 15 minutes. We're going to go through some Canvas stuff, and then I'll take some more questions, or feel free to interrupt me throughout. The first thing I would recommend for Canvas, make a Canvas parent account. It lets you be an observer, and if you have students at multiple grade levels, like a lot of you do, it sounds like, it will let you see all of your students in one place instead of having multiple logins. It's really easy to go connect it. What you're going to end up doing is, there we go, you'll have your student log into their Canvas account. This is the same password and login they're using for Skyward, so it shouldn't change. Then what you'll do is you'll go to the account and settings, and it will give you a pair with observer code. This code is unique to your student, and so what will happen is with your parent account that you've signed up for, it will let you put that code in, and it will link it, and then you see all of their courses and their grades and everything they've turned in. I find that this is really helpful for those that have students at multiple grade levels, just because they don't have to log in to different levels of Canvas. They can just log into one and see all of their courses for all of their students. Also, don't feel like you have to write all this down. I do have a handout at the end, so that you can walk away with these resources and you won't feel like you have to memorize everything. Like I said with tech at the beginning, sometimes you have to see it and then you have to play with it before you kind of figure it out. So this is very helpful from a parent perspective, just because you can see all in one place what's happening too on multiple. It'll put all of your student stuff onto one calendar instead of having to be like, Sally has an assignment due on Tuesday and Johnny in middle school has a major project due on Wednesday and I have to log into 3 different accounts. Once you get that parent observer code set up, it will follow them. So if you set it up as when they're in elementary school, Canvas recognizes their little code and it moves with them, which is really nice. Just some basic layout of Canvas. This I find is where parents are like, I'm confused, there's so much stuff here. So I'm going to try to break it down for you. This over here is what we call global navigation. This would be like if you're using Google Maps to try and find a country. It is the overview. It has things like the dashboard or all of the courses. It's global. It's happening outside of any individual course. Inside of a course, we have the course navigation. This is like you live in Utah and you are trying to find the Canyons District building with Google Maps. Okay. So country, addresses. It's inside of the course. It'll change things within the course. This one at the top with number 3 is called a breadcrumb navigation. So like you leave breadcrumbs behind. It will show you where you came from. I like when they name things that make sense. So like you came from the course and now you're in the syllabus of the course. If you are like, this is not the page I want, again, anything that's blue is a link. You can click on it. You can click back to that BWC 101 and it will take you to the page you were at previously. So don't feel like you can also just follow the breadcrumbs back or forward, whichever way you're going. The other thing you'll see is you also have like a calendar over here. It'll give you a to-do list. So if you want to see what's upcoming for your students, as long as I've published it as a teacher and put a due date on it, it will show it to you over there as a parent, which is very helpful for you to kind of plan ahead. As a parent, this is from a teacher perspective, but you'll see a similar thing. If you click on the courses from our global navigation, it will bring up all of the courses your student is in. These are the courses I currently teach, so I teach U.S. History and Digital Literacy. If I click on a course, it will take me to a home page. So this is my home page. It'll have the name. It'll also have these learning units. So for canyons, they have a style guide. This is one of the things they ask us to have on our home pages. So we try to make, when we follow that style guide, it makes it so that the courses are set up similarly for you as a parent. Yeah?
What about if we have different kids in different levels? Would we see all the home pages of all our kids?
Yes. Yes, you would see, so what would happen, that's a good clarifying question as well. You would see them all here for everyone that your student is in. Usually it'll have, when we get courses pushed out to us, like they send us a course and then we get to edit it and make it our own, our little digital classroom, it will have a grade level on it. So you can see these here. So that can kind of help you navigate that as well. You'll also see down here, it'll show you like my TA class or my teacher advisory is a year long versus like my digital literacy, I only have them for a semester. It will show you that as well. Going back to here. On the home pages, we try to make them the same. So your question about multiple grade levels, there's a style guide for elementary, there's a style guide for middle school, and there's a style guide for high school. Those are designed to be developmentally appropriate. So on your elementary school one, you'll probably see things with more pictures and larger fonts. Whereas in a middle school one, you'll see a little bit more detail. And a high school one, you'll see it more set up like a college syllabus to try and help prepare our students as they're moving through. Obviously, you don't want a lot of text heavy for a kindergartner, but you're going to get more text as you move up those grade levels. So don't be surprised when you see those differences. There's also course links, school links, and my contact information. Every teacher is required to have that on their homepage. So if you're like, I have no idea, this is the way to get a hold of me. My office phone number is on there. You'll find that with everyone. Inside of that course, they also have, again, going back to those navigations. So it's our course navigation, not our global navigation. It will have different things you can click on. The thing that you'll most commonly see is the announcements, modules, and grades tab. Announcements are where I can post information for my students. Modules is like going into that filing cabinet. It has all the assignments that are there. And then the one you'll probably go to the most is the grades tab. So a couple of things in the grades tab. One, this little drop-down menu inside the grades tab will let you sort between courses. So if you want to see multiple courses or different courses, you can see it that way. You can also sort by due date. It will show you if things are late, so if a student's turned them in past the due date, or if they're missing. So if you see a dash, it means they haven't turned anything in on Canvas.
From there, can you print like all of their later missing assignments, or does it show everything?
You can print this page. It does not let you sort by missing or late assignments. Also a question I got in the last class, and a Canvas feature I will be suggesting because I think you should be able to do that. It would be faster, and I agree. There's a place that, as an educator, I can make suggestions. So these are things I write down that I'm like, hey, I did this thing at a parent night and they liked this feature, or I'll go find it and I can vote on it, like, yes, you should do that. So they're on my list already. You can print this page though, and it will keep the late or missing. A lot of times what I'll have parents do is they'll print it and then they'll highlight stuff. And especially for my 6th grade students, I'll get a note that says, can you tell me about these assignments? A Post-it note attached to that paper. And then I usually just write next to them, and then the student takes it home. It's a really easy way to communicate with the teacher if you don't want to send an email. So that's very helpful. The other thing I find is very helpful, and I wish there was a way to sort. It makes sense to me to have that, are these icons. Sometimes as a middle school teacher, I see that students will submit things and they will submit them blank because they want to show their parents they've submitted something, but there's actually nothing in the assignment. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And when I was asking teachers in my hallway, they were like, please point out the icons, and that the icons don't necessarily mean that there's a completed assignment. So first off, if you see an icon, it means something has been submitted. It doesn't guarantee what that something is, but something is there. If you click on these blue links for them, it'll take you straight to the assignment and you can see what your student has submitted. So check that if you have a student that's like, no, I did it, and then you're like, no, you turned in the blank assignment. I've had a kid once too who submitted, I completed this assignment. And I was like, but there's nothing there. Like, they're learning, it's okay. But that's what we're here to do, right? As teachers and parents, we're here to help them learn so they can be successful. A couple of things about these icons. These icons will tell you what type of thing they've submitted. So this first one is a document, so it's some sort of either like a Google Doc or a paper assignment. This one here is a discussion post. Sometimes those happens at the upper grades more than the younger grades. This little rocket chip means they've taken a quiz or a test. So those are usually your flags that's like, oh, that's important, that's a quiz or a test. This little T means that there's a text box. We also have links and video assignments that they can submit. And this little eyeball that's crossed through means that they can't see their score yet. If you have an icon there, it means something has been submitted, but a teacher hasn't graded it yet until there is a score there. If you have a tiny dash, it means they haven't submitted anything. So just know that that's clarification on those icons that I think is really helpful, just to know what you're seeing. Last thing in Canvas, and then we'll have about 5 minutes for questions. I can show you the resources. You can email right from Canvas with your parent account. From the inbox, you just select your course. You can type in the teacher's name, and you can send a message. When you do that, it'll forward to my email, and it will flag it that it's from Canvas. And so if you're one of those people that you're like, I can't have 7 tabs open, I just need to email from here, it's a great way to do that. It's also really nice because you as a parent observer, you'll see here there are 2 names. You could send it to me and to your student, and it would show up in both of their inboxes. So if you want to communicate with your student, like, hey, I've emailed the teacher about that assignment, depending on your student, sometimes that helps them to be able to be like, oh yeah, my mom emailed me, my mom emailed the teacher, or my dad, or my guardian, or whoever is there, has emailed about it, and I got a copy of it. That also tells me too, usually, that the student is feeling anxious about it, so I should make sure that I touch base with them. So then I can be like, hey, I got the email from your mom, this is what we're gonna do about the assignment. It sort of flags that for me as a teacher.
You can also email the teacher through Skyward.
You can, yes.
Do they get the same message?
They come to the same place for me, yep. They all come to my Outlook email inbox, so.
Because I've always just gone and got the email address and sent it from my email.
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter as a teacher where you're getting it from?
Not for me, no. There's some teachers that prefer one or the other. Those are really great conversations at back to school night to be like, which way is easier for you to answer an email, or how often do you grade? It really helps me. Or if you are in a household where maybe your student splits time between households, that's really helpful for me to know as a teacher as well. It's a great back to school conversations. For me, it doesn't matter. Some teachers have a preference one way or the other. So, other questions about Canvas? Just a couple minutes left. Things you're wondering about? Yeah.
Previous question. Our daughter's just in first grade, so, but my question is, they have their own account,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, do you have to create a parent account, or can you look at things through their account?
That's a really good question. You can look at things through their account. That's awesome that you have a first grader. That's so fun. They're so great at that age. For them, you can log in with their account and see what they're seeing. The times I find that are helpful is if you have students at multiple grade levels. So like if you have someone who's in 6th grade, at a middle school, and in 1st grade, and you also have a high schooler, then you can see it all in one place without using separate logins. No, you don't have to. You can just, I have parents that will just message me from their student's Canvas account and just say, this is parent's name from their account. And then I just respond that way. Good question. Any other questions about Canvas that you're wondering? I know it's like 8:30 at night, so you're probably really tired. Before you go, this is the resources I have, and I'll give you a paper of it in a second. But if you are not a paper person, this bit.ly link will take you to this page. And it has links. Canyons has great Skyward and Canvas supports for parents. They have walkthrough videos and FAQs and just about anything that you would want to go watch, as well as contact information for who to contact if you get stuck. Those are both there. I also have the Skyward Family Toolkit and the Canvas FAQ question guide, which has just about every question that you might want to know. There's literally like 100 of them, but it's very helpful. You also can link back to these presentation slides, so if you're like, I just want to see what those icons look like again, they'll link there, as well as a link to the digital copy of the handout that has these links as well. So thank you so much for coming. If you have questions that you feel like you're like, I would like to know that, feel free to email me. I got one from the last session, and I'd be happy to email or answer any questions that you might have. Let me grab one of those handouts for you if you'd like one. Didn't know how many people would be here, but I'm glad that you're here. And hopefully you have a wonderful evening. I think we got out about 8:30.